What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil. Episode 378. Rare Thursday show because PK over here got in very, very late on Tuesday and didn't want to record and then edit and try to put this out on Wednesday. It would have been a bad show. So we're recording around close to 5 o'clock on Wednesday. This will be out on Thursday, so sorry for the day delay. But we're in off-season mode, and there's literally nothing going on in the NLL. So, well, I guess it's approaching something going on in the NLL, which we'll talk about today. But today's show, we're going over the bold predictions for the Buffalo Bills season. Phil took 3. I took 3. And then we're going over NLL prospects that might be interesting for the Buffalo Bandits because the draft is on Saturday at 1 p.m. Even though free agency is open, we'll talk about that in a bit. But remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You can check out our store on our link tree on our social media sites or at the top of the website by just hitting the shop tab. You can represent the BSC on the go and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. Phil, I've literally been out of the country. What have you been doing in this past week?
I honestly have no idea. I always get to this part and then forget that I'm supposed to have something for this. Last week, I think actually I finally had, I had a weekend off, and that is what I did. The first one in a long time that I haven't had any plans, and it was great, honestly. Just kind of did nothing, did stuff around the house, did some shopping, some things here and there, some chores and whatnot. Nothing major, though. Finally had a weekend to just kind of relax and not have anything on my mind, which was pretty fantastic.
Phil had
Yours
a
was the
nice,
exact opposite.
relaxing week. We left for Vancouver early Friday morning, got in like the afternoonish, so we did a bunch of walking around. Vancouver's very fun. A lot of walking this entire time we were there. We rented a car to take us to the hiking locations to do more walking, but where Brooke booked the hotel, we were kind of in like the heart of the city. Like we were right across the street from the soccer stadium. If people listening in Vancouver know about where that is, we were right there. So we did like Yaletown. We did I think it's called Galetown. I don't know. There's so many different towns.
Yaletown and Galetown?
Yeah, we pretty much walked everywhere. A lot of great hiking spots. The one hiking spot took like an hour straight uphill, and then there was another hour just winding through it. And by the time we get to the top, it was so foggy and misty you couldn't see the views. We saw a little bit, but we were like, we'll look up what we're supposed to look like. The next day, we got a pretty good view. It wasn't as high, and it was a different view, but we saw that. Good food. I bought a Warriors hat. I did do that. I needed to buy something for my trip. But shout out to everybody that reached out to me. There were quite a few people letting me know what to do in Vancouver. There were a few people that checked in midway through to find out how it was going, what we're up to. It was a fun experience. We had Brad Challoner and Jake Elliott. I tagged both of them. So thank you to both of them for reaching out and letting me know where to go, because I'm an East Coast boy. I'm not a West Coast boy. So I reached out to the West Coast boys to find out exactly what to do. Took up a lot of their suggestions. Really loved it. The only negative that I have about Vancouver,
Careful.
and this is might be one that is a known thing out there. It might be just a local thing that people already know the answer to. Unless you're on the thruway and unless you're using Google Maps, there is no indication what the speed limit is out there. And I already had a tough time because I'm in the States, Europe and Canada. They use kilometers. I use miles per hour. The car was in kilometers, so that was no issue. I didn't have to balance it out. But some of the roads were 30 kilometers an hour, which is like 18 miles an hour. The car was going quicker without my foot on the gas. But, like, again, I didn't know the speed limits throughout the city to get out of the city. unless it's on the GPS. And that was very confusing. Kilometers, I found out, when you press the gas, they go up so much quicker than miles per hour. So it took a bit of adjustment. But yeah, my only complaint is, unless there's like some type of sign that I missed whenever you go to different suburbs of Vancouver, and it's just like a city-wide known speed limit. But as a non-local, I had no idea what it was. So if anybody out there is in Vancouver and you just want to give me a nice little lesson here on what to expect next time we go. But I figured out because I was using Google Maps, but I was thinking to myself, if I'm not a local and I'm traveling here and like I'm not using Google Maps, how the heck do I know how fast I'm supposed to be going? But figured it out. It was a fun time. Had a ton of good food, ton of walking, great views. We saw a wild sea lion in the wild. It was in the water. It was pretty cool. I know locals.
That's pretty cool.
Again, locals probably see it all the time, and otters and sea lions and all that kind of stuff.
But you were not in San Diego.
We were not in San Diego. Yeah. But yeah, great
time.
time.
Seals are different.
Anybody out there that has never been to Vancouver, I would highly encourage you to go because it was very fun. I think we went for the perfect amount of time. But yeah, Tuesday, I think we landed around like 6:30. We were in the back of the plane, so it took like close to 7 until we got out of the airport. We had to go pick up our foster dog at another foster house that she was being watched at, and then we got home probably like 8:30. I'm like, oh, thank God Phil was willing to move this to Wednesday because that would have sucked. But what won't suck are the Buffalo Bills. Fingers crossed, hopefully everything goes well. We came up each with 3 bold predictions for the 2025, hopefully late into 2026, and late I mean like middle of February, for the Buffalo Bills season. They kick off Sunday Night Football versus the Ravens. Next week we'll actually be able to talk about a real football game. But Phil, do you want to kick this off, or you want me to on your first Buffalo Bills bold prediction? We've been doing this for a few years now. Sometimes we hit them good, but like you always like to say, these are bold for a reason, so they might not hit.
I'm going to let you go first, so my third one is last.
Okay, perfect. My first one, and this one probably is a little bit bold. I'm going to start over. Josh Palmer will lead the team in receiving yards. Now, he's really only going against Shakir, in my opinion, because Shakir's like the reigning one. But there's talk that Coleman had a really good camp and a really good preseason, what he turns into, even though he was limited on Wednesday with a groin injury. Shakir, I already mentioned him. You got Kincaid, maybe he can step up. You got a few guys in the wings, like Curtis Samuel. Will he even be a starter and make the starting rotation and get on the field, or is it going to be Elijah Moore? You got Gabe Davis, who's signing to the practice squad, but he's not going to be back for a while, so you probably don't have to worry about him. But he has a career high of 769 yards. That was back in 2022, but he was playing with Justin Herbert, so that's something of note. He also had years of 353, 581, and 584, but his highest targets was 107. In that year, he went over 700 yards. Last year, Shakir had 821 yards. That led the team. The next closest was Coleman at 556. Kincaid had 448. One player was over 100 targets, and that was Shakir. Kincaid had 75. Coleman 57. If Palmer plays all 17 games, he will have more yards than anyone else, and I still think he would be 3rd or 4th in targets. I'm not expecting Buffalo to change up their whole philosophy about what worked last year with James Cook and Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, and Josh Allen running the ball. If that's effective, they're going to keep doing that. But I don't think it's a far-gone conclusion that Josh Palmer could lead this team while also not leading this team in targets or receptions. I think he's going to be a big play receiver, and I think that's something that Josh Allen has been looking for a while. And Palmer's going to be on the field a ton. He's not going to be playing in the slot. He's going to be playing on the outside. That's one advantage that goes to him that doesn't go to Shakir. So I'm getting Josh Palmer leading this team in receiving yards. Take that for what it's worth. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, this team needs a field stretcher. It's something that Allen loves to use when he has one. I mean, Gabe Davis is a prime example of what he was back in the day when it was just, I mean, what was that, what was it, like 92-yard touchdown where it would just happen to be a broken play. He's wide open, and there he goes down the entire field. Like, that's the kind of play that Palmer should be able to bring the Bills, and something they've been lacking is that speed on the outside, and I think Allen's going to love to have that. So as long as they can kind of scheme him in different ways to get him open. I could easily see a lot of big play, big chunk yardage. So I don't even know if he necessarily needs those targets to be up over 100. I think he can do that on less targets and just have those monster plays. And I think that's something he's going to be very good at. So I could see that, especially because, as you already mentioned, Shakir, 821, not exactly a dominating yards for the Buffalo Bills wide receivers. My first bold prediction can still allow your first bold prediction to happen, but mine, I will keep it with the offense, and it is going to be that Kincaid leads the team in receptions. This is not necessarily targets alone, but receptions. He was, as PK just mentioned, second on the team last year in receptions with 44 on 76 targets. I do think a player like Palmer or Coleman could easily eat into Shakir's workload, as PK just mentioned. So Shakir led the team with 76 receptions last year. Now, Kincaid obviously had about an equal amount of targets versus Shakir's receptions, so we'd have to catch every single one of those to make that happen. But when he was a rookie in 16 games, he had 73 receptions on 91 targets. If he is finally healthy, can rediscover some of that rookie magic, and take that third-year tight end boost that everybody talks about. He's been also getting rave reviews in camps. If he can be that guy for the Bills and be the one that they drafted, I think he could get up over Shakir's 76 from last year. That's not really a big number. Again, this is not some of these other teams that have 140, 150 receptions or targets for some of these higher end players. It's not a big number that these players have to hit because the Bills don't really have an alpha on offense. So it's a little bit easier to make these bold predictions like this, but I'll give him 80 receptions for a new career high if he plays the entire season. And that could lead the team with Shakir leading last year at 76.
Yeah, I definitely could see it happen. I got burned by Kincaid last year by making one of my bold predictions, being top 5 and a ton of stuff around the league. But to me, if this offense is going to win the Super Bowl and this team is going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to need another player on offense to step up. It can't be just the Josh Allen and James Cook show. It needs to be another player. I think Kincaid is the most likely to be able to do that. I think Shakir is a very, very good player. But to me, he's more of a role type of player in this type of offense. When you're a slot guy, yes, you can dominate. You see Amon-Ra St. Brown do it for Detroit. But I don't see this team relying on Shakir to be that next 1,200-yard receiver. Kincaid, I think, could go up over 1,000 yards. I could see him leading this team in receptions. They're going to need somebody to do it. Is it going to be Kincaid? I don't know. I am very skeptical of it, but I also am open to the possibility of being wrong with this idea. But to me, it's just I'm very nervous about what this offense with the pass catchers could be if nobody steps up. I'm not asking for an alpha. I'm not asking for the next Stephon Diggs on this team. I'm not even asking for somebody to go 100 receptions for 120 or 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. I'm just looking for somebody that can be stepping up when needed in the passing game. When you need to rely on somebody, needs to be there. And I think it could be Kincaid, but I got burned in the past. But player that you're going to leave out for dead here is by year's end, Daquan Jones will be the odd man out at the defensive tackle position. Now, he's been with this team for 3 years. In my opinion, he struggled a lot last year. And I think he has, when he first signed, I think it was like a 1 or 2 year deal. Either way, as soon as he was a free agent, I was like, this needs to be one of the number one priorities to sign this guy back because he made Ed Oliver that much better. And it's not just, the numbers he puts up because he's not, that's not his type of role. He doesn't put up the big numbers. But he seemed to be overmatched and slow at times last year. He will be 34 by year's end. Carter, who is now out, Sanders, and Walker are right on his heels. With Oliver already on the opposite side, and he's pretty much locked in, by the end of summer, I think Walker and Sanders, zoom by him. Even if you want to talk maybe Jordan Phillips, somebody has to come on here and replace Dwayne Carter because he's pretty much out for the year, even though they haven't put him on IR. Jones is UFA at the year's end. So the investment in him is not past this year. I think the team will see that they have a better group of youth on the field when they have the TJ Sanders, when they have the Walker on the field. And in the end, I do think that he might be the odd man out. If they do find another replacement, whether it's Phillips or somebody on the outside, I do think that DaQuan Jones will either be the fourth in that rotation or the fifth one with a healthy scratch at year's end. I don't see them bringing him back next year, and I do not see the investment. While he's running with the ones right now, yes, but that's why this is by year's end. I have DaQuan Jones being the odd man out there.
Yeah, I'll say as kind of sad as it is for him, you almost hope that he's the odd man out by the end because of his
finally
age,
drafted
because
somebody
he's a free
well
agent.
on the defensive
Exactly.
line.
Like you want him to be pushed out by somebody better that can be younger and be a part of this team for longer and not need to re-sign him at the end of the year because your draft picks didn't hit and nobody's ready to step up and be better than he is. Like you need somebody to be better than he is. Not that he's horrible by any means, but you want somebody better. And if the Bills at the end of the year are re-signing him, that's a bigger issue than him leaving. So I do like it. Like you said, hard to see right now. It's by year's end because currently he is running with the starters, but hopefully some of those younger players can pick it up and take over his spot. My second one is also on the defensive end of things. It is that Joey Bosa rediscovers his glory years. I think I did this with Von Miller last year, so we're trying again. Didn't watch him play with the Chargers last year. I didn't watch the Chargers, but he only played in 14 games, had 5 sacks. That's not great. Before that, he had 6.5 sacks in 9 games. Before that, he had 2.5 in just 5 games. But before that, we finally get to 16 games played, 10.5 sacks. That looks like the player that the Bills are trying to bring in and make a difference maker as a rotational player. Obviously, a big part of this is him staying healthy for 17 games. He was already injured earlier this year, but if he can stay healthy, he's already been back out there, and he can be that rotational guy that comes in for those big moments, gets a sack, and then goes to and takes a rest. I don't see why he can't beat what Von Miller did last year, which was about 8.3 sacks for 18 or 17 games if you were to average out what Von Miller was supposed to do. Bosa is 6 years younger than Miller, and I think there's a chance he can get back up into the 10-sack number if he's healthy the entire season. And just the way the Bills want to use him as we don't need him to be that guy all the time. He just needs to be a rotational guy that comes in, makes that impact play, and then again goes and gets some rest. He's going to be a veteran presence, but I think if he can just stay healthy the whole year, I think he can be that player that he's been in the past, especially again as a rotational player, not needed to be leaned on as much as he was when he was a little bit younger.
Yeah, his biggest issue is just always health. If he's able to stay healthy, I could see him putting up those type of numbers again. He's only on a 1-year deal, so we'll see what happens. But I do like that prediction.
If he wants to get paid.
Yes, yeah. He's right up against that line where he could get another 2 or 3 year deal with big money. So we'll see. I do like that one. If again, with the defensive side of the ball, if they want to win a Super Bowl, they're going to need somebody on that defensive line to step up. And if it's him or Rousseau or AJ Epinesa or whoever else is on that defensive line, somebody needs to step up. And if it's Joey Bosa that puts him over the top, perfect. I'm just very skeptical again because the defensive line work since Brandon Beane came here is questionable at best. My last one here, somebody who is not questionable at best. He's a legit superstar and a blooming superstar around the league to me, and I think his name's going to be more noticed, is Terrell Bernard. And I have him being an all-pro this year. That just means he needs to be first or second team. I don't care which way. He's just 26 years old. He's getting into his prime with Matt Milano finally back next to him. And he's playing for another contract because he's going to be a free agent after this year as well. Hopefully a better line in front of him, fingers crossed. That will allow him to play a bit more free. Now in 2023, when he was named starter, 143 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions. So he's got the numbers to back it up in 2023. Last year, just 13 games, 104 tackles. If you were to stretch that out the whole season, that's 136 tackles, 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 interceptions. This is going to be his 3rd season as a starter. Now, last year's winners. Now, remember the numbers I just went through. 151 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 4 passes defended, an interception, 5 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. I think and that was just one of the examples. I think if he can get more of those splash plays that we saw in his first year, while also having those tackles to back it up, and if this defense can step it up and start getting stops on third downs, his name's going to be mentioned more. If they go deeper into the playoffs, his name's going to be mentioned more. I think Terrell Bernard is a blooming superstar, and to me, I think he is a few more splash plays away from being an all-pro across this league. I don't think it's that unheard of that if he can get to the 130, 140 tackle limit, if he can pick up 4 or 5 sacks, if he can get a few more tackles for losses, if he can pick up an interception or two there and a couple forced fumbles, I think his name is going to be mentioned with the other names around the league, like the Fred Warners, the Roquan Smiths, the Zaire Franklins. I really think that Terrell Bernard can be up there. And at first I was like, he's got to beat out these 6 guys. And the more I dug into the numbers, I was like, he is a splash type of player and can put up those numbers. And I think with Matt Milano and a hopefully better defensive line in front of him, I think he can do it.
Yeah, I think the big thing with him, like you said, is kind of combining year 1 and 2 together and having those splash plays plus the solid defensive ability that he has. And the bigger thing with him, which is the same thing with apparently all the Buffalo Bills that we're mentioning, is health once again. My goodness, play 17 games and be healthy for an entire season plus playoffs. That would be great. The Bills cannot lose Bernard again. That would be devastating. But I do like it. I like it. I think, like you said, I think he's going to slowly earn his way up there. I mean, I know no Bills other than Allen last year were able to make that fancy list. So hopefully they don't just look down on Buffalo for some odd reason. But he should be one of those players that is making a big name for himself, especially going into year 3. My final one is not bold at all, but I needed a place to put this in there. And I don't want to be completely negative and down already. Season hasn't even started. But my last one is that the Buffalo Bills will not go to the Super Bowl. And my problem with this team right now, and it's just becoming a bigger issue to me, is that they don't seem to be doing enough around Allen and surrounding him enough to really push him to a Super Bowl. I mean, we've seen his playoff numbers, which are beyond incredible. He's got all these numbers that he's the only one doing all these things that hasn't been able to make a Super Bowl. And I know they've obviously been extremely close with what they've been able to do. And I'm not saying the team is horrible by any means. What we have them both winning 13 games. I think they'll have a great season. It's the playoffs that still concern me. I don't know if they did enough this offseason. Their secondary looks rough. Their safeties, their cornerbacks are going to be an interesting thing to watch the entire season. They didn't bring any dynamic, wide receiver or offensive threats in, and that's one of the bigger issues. I know you have Palmer having a good season, which is fine, but
I didn't say good season, though. I didn't say good season.
But that's the issue, is that, again, like PK and I have discussed this off the podcast, that they seem to be doing the Buffalo Sabres, okay, we like what we have, but we need those guys to step forward, and we're banking on them to step forward. And I think it's just aggravating to watch when you have a Josh Allen, you have the quarterback you've been looking for 17 years, finally here, just won the MVP. Like, he's it. And he's already, which kind of blew my mind the other day to hear that he's already, I think, 29 years old. Like, you're blowing past the prime of his career. Yes, he'll still be good for a long time. I'm not saying that he's going to disappear anytime soon, but like, this was the year that, like, last year was supposed to be the throwaway year. And this year was supposed to be, okay, we got the cap back under control. The team's back under control. This is the year we're going to start building up again and push for the Super Bowl. And they didn't really do that much again. And it's more, to me, I mean, more than anything, we've talked about this a lot, is the first round draft picks that just have not hit. And obviously it's very easy in hindsight to go back and say, like, oh, look at all these other players that didn't do anything. But I'm still going to go back to the Keon Coleman, and hopefully he takes a step forward. But that draft class has so many incredible wide receivers that came out of it. The Bills wanted a wide receiver. Instead of going up and getting aggressive and taking one of the big ones, they decided to sit back, drop back, and then get Keon Coleman, who could be fine, but he's not Brian Thomas Jr. Even Ladd McConkey looks like a budding superstar. I know Shakir's here and he's plays a similar role that Ladd does, but Ladd can also play on the outside, and he's looked really, really good compared to Keon Coleman. It's just the aggression early in drafts, the aggression in free agency to bring in that star. Like PK's talked about it a lot, where they have good players, they don't have great players. They don't have all-star players. I mean, it's very difficult to get an Eagles roster overnight. That roster is ridiculous, but I still don't know if they did enough in the offseason to push past the Kansas City Chiefs, who now also have gotten better simply by getting their players back. I know Rice is suspended, but when they have Rice, Worthy, Kelsey, that's going to be even a more difficult team to get past in the playoffs. And I just don't know if the Bills did enough this offseason to really push themselves further instead of just simply banking on the talent that they have and also banking on Josh Allen to carry them to the promised land pretty much all by himself.
So I don't want to get over negative as well. I fully am on your side. I do not have them winning the Super Bowl. I don't even have them going to it either. I agree with you. I don't think they brought in help. And that's big. And I understand once you pay your quarterback, you can only do so much. And while I don't think they brought in a ton of players, they were able to retain and extend a bunch of their players. So I think that's where a lot of their money went. But I agree with you. The safety room, bringing in Force was pretty much the only competition. You're really relying on Bishop to take that next step. Coleman, you hit the nail on the head. They needed a wide receiver. They traded back into the second round and picked him up when they could have moved forward and gotten Brian Thomas. Again, you can't really do history like that because you really didn't know Brian Thomas Jr. was going to become Brian Thomas Jr. and be one of the best wide receivers in that draft class being drafted in the 20s.
But the fact that they just didn't take that shot, like be aggressive and get Josh Allen an alpha. Like that was your big chance in that deep wide receiver class. He was 3 picks away. That's your big opportunity to go and okay, this guy's the next big wide receiver. He could be. He had the talent. Go and be aggressive and get him someone. But
yeah, I have issues with Brandon Beane and his drafting in the early rounds. Love his late rounds, and I know you can't hit everywhere.
He's incredible.
And again, I also understand that drafting in the 20s and the 30s, it's tougher to nail on your first round picks than it is to draft in the early 10s and teens. I understand that. Mine really comes down to, and I think I said it 2 years ago after the Denver loss. And we've had a lot of this conversation, and I don't really want to dive too much into it today because this is the bold predictions. I have said it so many times off podcasts in our group chat about my feelings towards, I personally, and again, this has nothing to do with the man he is. This has nothing to do with what he's built here in Buffalo. I am very appreciative of what Sean McDermott has done to this organization, bringing them from the depths of nothingness, that they were a laughing, joking stock of the entire league. But to me, just because of where you came from and where you are now doesn't mean you should settle for what you have. And that's been my biggest critique. And people have said, hey, who would you bring in instead? Ben Johnson was the hottest commodity last year. If Sean McDermott doesn't return this year, Ben Johnson's coming to take this job. Josh Allen is your selling point. And again, this is no shot at Sean McDermott. I think he is a very, very great coach. But even Andy Reid got fired from Philly. And I know that's the talking point around the league. Again, I'm not trying to dive into this situation because it's a bigger talking point than I'm doing right now. But to me, until there's change at the head coaching position, again, he's not doing a bad job. Don't hear what I'm not saying. He's not doing a bad job. But to me, it just goes back to, are you settling because of where you were, because of where you are now? Are you so afraid of going back to where you used to be that you're afraid of looking forward and saying, hey, maybe the next hire won't be as good as what Sean McDermott was, but you still have Josh Allen. You're built in 10 to 11 wins every single season. He's not getting any younger. We already said this is his year 29 season. To me,
wild.
I don't think with this combo of Josh Allen and Sean McDermott is going to get a Super Bowl. History is on my side making that statement, and Josh Allen's not the one going anywhere. So again, bigger conversation for a later time. This is kind of a workaround for me saying I agree with you. I do not see them making the Super Bowl this season.
But yeah, happy start to the season.
Have a great Sunday. Sunday Night Football. Carrie Underwood's going to bring in. What we're going to bring in next is the first and only sponsor of this episode, which is Tap That Tap Room at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. It's Buffalo's first woman-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer varieties of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
PK, there is one main upcoming event that truly matters, which is really tough to talk about after knocking them down a peg, but it is officially that time of year for the Buffalo Bills watch parties. We say it all the time about the Bandits games, but Bills games are no different. Tap That Tap Room is the place to be to watch a Bills game with the sound on all the TVs, a Bills jersey, halftime giveaway, and $6 for Twisted Tea and Angry Orchard all game long. It is one of the few places you can go without a jersey and go home with one. There's also one other event I want to bring up now that PK may discuss more in the next show, but it is running out of time. Tap That Tap Room is hosting a Halloween/fall ceramic painting workshop Thursday, September 11th. There will be a variety of pumpkins to choose from, and all of them light up, and I do love the Halloween light ups. You must have a ticket to this event, and your ticket includes all materials and instructions. Again, that is next Thursday, the 11th. But for more information on that event or many others they have coming up, check out their Facebook page. And for what's on tap and what's on deck, check out tapthattaproom.com.
Yeah, if it wasn't a Sunday night game, you know where to find me. But I work on Monday, and I will be watching the second half from my bed. Phil, free agency did officially open on Friday, and I was poo-pooing, laughing at them, but they sort of opened it. It's open, but I wouldn't expect
not to us.
Yeah, it's not open to the players either. I don't expect any players to sign a deal. There's already players that are getting qualified offer under the previous CBA, because everything I keep saying is the previous CBA doesn't actually expire until October. And that's fine and all, but now these players are qualified offered under the old CBA. Again, players maybe get onto this earlier next time the CBA. Make phone calls throughout the entire season. Don't wait for the season to be over to start negotiating things. And that goes for both sides. But there's still been a couple moves. I mean, not any big ones. No free agencies. Free agent players have actually signed. The only players that have actually signed deals were with Halifax, and somehow Halifax were able to re-sign all their UFAs besides Warren Hill. Don't get it. Don't understand why the players would do that. But the Rock traded Brian Cameron, as somebody speeds down my street, and a 2027 fourth-round pick for Colorado's second-round pick in 2027. To me, the Rock have the first, second, and third overall picks this draft. They're just making room on their left side for a few players. Couple shockers, Phil. Shockers. Who would have seen this coming? Calgary puts the franchise tag on Tyler Pace, and Vancouver puts the franchise tag on Christian Del Bianco.
What?
Shocked face. Holy cow, how did that happen? I wanted.
Is that
Christian
why you're
Del
wearing
Bianco
the hat?
Yeah, I wanted Christian Del Bianco to come to Buffalo. That's all I kept hearing. If Vince retires, Christian Del Bianco would be a good one. And we told you all summer, he's not leaving Vancouver. It's not happening. That's just further proof it's not happening. Philly offered the franchise tag to Mitch DeSnew, the other Mitch. Haven't really seen anything if that's been accepted. I think you get 48 hours to accept that. And this was done like last Thursday or Friday, and I haven't seen anything.
Hard pass.
Yeah, it's still listed under the transit offered. Qualifying offers for Toronto to Bushi, Erlin, and Jubenville. And then qualifying offer plus to Vancouver's Charlene Beatties, Martel, and Bowering. And then Buffalo qualified offered plus Toke and Anacoke. None of those players are going anywhere. They're all RFAs, not qualifying offer plus. So they're sticking around. Like we said, free agency is open, but don't expect any players to sign anywhere until the CBA is done. And latest I heard, who knows what's going to happen? I have no idea. I've heard some people say there's constant communication. I've heard some people say that there's lack of motivation from both sides. Who knows? We're halfway through our off-season, guys. We got 3 more months left of our off-season coverage. Do something. We're running out of time here. NLL draft, though, is Saturday at 1 p.m., Phil. Bandits have a first-round pick, 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, and 2 fifths per swarmitup.com. They have the 14th overall pick, which is a first-round pick. 21st, which is a second. 32nd, which is a second. 39th is a third. 61st, which is a fourth. And then back-to-back in the fifth at 74 and 75. Phil, lot of draft capital here. Last year, they had 3 first rounds and an early second. So 4 really early picks. We were like, man, what is Dietrich going to do? And he used all 4 of them. So to me, I think this could be a season that you might want to watch this, because I could see Buffalo be more active on the trade front. Not saying sending players out, but I could see them packaging some picks. Again, we say this every year. Package picks to move up or move a couple picks for later down the road. Again, we don't know exactly if Matt Vince is coming back, Paul Dawson, so on and so forth. So that could affect what they do here, but I'm going under the assumption they're coming back just based on my own sanity. But I could see this year being very active for Steve Dietrich and the organization based on what they did last year and restocking the cabinets of youth on the team.
Yeah, I think our big thing, which has been for the last few years, is to kind of just keep punting down the line. And they said, you guys are morons. We're going to draft 4 players last year, and we're going to ignore everything you say, which is fine. I like everything they're doing and what they're drafting, and they've won 3 in a row. So, just keep doing what you're doing until proven otherwise. You guys
keep
are amazing.
Keep telling us to shut it.
Pretty much. But we're probably going to be in the exact same situation again on this show. I assume that we're going to both want to punt down the line, trade things away for now talent that'll help you win a championship, or just maybe, we'll go over a lot of these players, but the big thing to me for this draft, we've talked about it so many times. It's hard to know without free agency truly starting to any degree that we know of, to know what the roster is going to look like, but there are so few spots. We talk about this every single year. There's not a lot of room, and as we just mentioned, they just drafted 4 players last year, so who knows out of them who's coming back. Yes, we know a couple of them will be, but Anton Giovanni, that's a huge one. What's he doing? Robertson, that's another big one. What's he going to do? What are the Bandits going to do with him? So just spots on the team, there are not that many. So it's going to be one of those situations that, again, I'll get into more as we start diving into some prospects, but for me, it's looking at players who still have junior eligibility. If you want to go and grab someone this year that can just go back and keep playing juniors and kind of kick the can down the road that way, or players that might have had a season-ending injury and aren't ready to be this year, or are going back to college but are still in the draft. Like players like that may not be an immediate impact to this team, but you can still draft high and kind of move on from and just make it a future roster problem in a good way.
So we are not draft analysts. That's not something we do. We don't do it for the NFL draft. We don't do it for the NHL draft. There's people that do a much better job of it that we rely on to go through this. And big shout outs to On the Clock Lax. They're writing for the NLL. I just saw the article go up today about the forwards. Red hit their article. It was fantastic. Steven Stamp, he was also clutch on this. He's got a ton of stuff on IL Lacrosse, I believe it is. Inside Lacrosse, I think it is.
IL Indoor.
IL Indoor, thank you. But yeah, Steven Stamp and On the Clock Lax, massive shout outs to them. Massive thank yous. So all the info that we're going to be dumping here, we got it straight from them. So go check out their stuff. We're trying to pump them up because of how clutch they were for us. So if you have any interest in any of the names we mentioned, any of the names that we don't mention, because I have like 13 pages of prospects here that I was just writing notes on. I think every player that they've mentioned I have on my docket here. And then I just went through and like, okay, I could see Buffalo being interested in this one. I'm interested in this one, and so on and so forth. So go read their stuff. It's fantastic stuff. Find them on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. NLL is posting their On the Clock Lax stuff. Like I just mentioned, their forwards just dropped today. Steven Stamp is working from 50 all the way to 1 on his draft prospects. It's fantastic stuff. Go give it a read. They are filled with knowledge galore. But the NLL
before
draft.
You move on.
Yeah.
OnTheClockLax.com, they pretty much are mainly there for prospects, is kind of what their about says. Yep. And some of the names we know, Pat Gregoire, Teddy Jenner, Aiden Yorks, Tino Farrow, and Ty Merrow are the ones who are behind it. So just, again, this is something, I'm going to make it really quick because we're going long already, but the NLL, and this is something that people love to talk about, is draft time. Like, this is huge. The NFL, it's huge. The NHL, it's huge. We don't know anything about any of these players. Like, it's just general fans. It's very hard to keep track of any of this. There's not a lot out there. Even for the juniors, it's hard. Even for Six Nations, they have like a blog on their website. And like, there aren't dedicated websites for a lot of these leagues, and there's a million lacrosse leagues very similar to the NHL. So without this information, even just, again, as podcasters or as casual fans who are out there who might just want to know about the upcoming draft, like, having this information is huge to be able to have an episode like this for us, or again, just casual fans. Like, the draft is so exciting. It's exciting to have players that you can bring in, again, outside of the Bandits. Like, there's plenty of teams that are not very good in the NLL that are really looking forward to this draft. Like, what can we bring in? What is something, like, who's a player that's going to change my team for the better? So the fact that is just any kind of resource, and honestly, this is a very, very good one, that these resources do exist, is really, really critical for a league like the NLL.
Yeah, so shout out to everybody that does this and makes our job so much easier. But NLL Draft kicks off Saturday at 1 p.m. It's being streamed on NLL Plus.
Also fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, also just the first round, but I'll
take it.
Very hopeful that we can see it here in the stateside. We should be able to, otherwise I don't see why they would broadcast that. I feel like they would say it's just Canada, and if that's so, I'm going back to Vancouver this weekend. Phil, I figure since we're already like 40 minutes in, we won't dissect each other's picks. Let's just bounce back and forth, give like a minute to a minute and a half each player that we have interest in Buffalo taking if we were the GM. And I'll kick it off. Owen Hiltz, and I'll start it up. I'm not looking for righty forwards. They already filled that gap last year with
also,
Nielsen.
For those who don't know,
back.
It's very, very deep, this draft, and righty forward, so it's not good for the Bandits.
Yeah, I am looking for lefty forwards. I'm looking for a transition. I'm looking for defense, and I even got a goalie mentioned. So if I steal any of yours, sorry. If you steal any of mine, no big deal. We're just going back and forth. Owen Hiltz is my first one. They had him mocked number 10. Peterborough for the MSL and Syracuse. He's a lefty forward. He's 5'8", 186, just 2 points last year for Senior B. I mean, he averaged 2 points a game for Senior B last summer. He played for Carolina in the PLL, so he's got some outdoor experience there. He was the 8th pick over there, 7 games, 16 goals, 11 assists, 27 points total with Syracuse in 2025. 46 goals, 27 assists, 73 points. In 2024, 65-point season, 2023, 53, and 2021, 48. So he got better each season. I'm more looking to, okay, you had Ian McKay, who had an unbelievable season. I don't think he's going to be able to replicate that because the film is out there now on his shooting. Josh Byrne is Josh Byrne, and Kluch is in a different role with Ian McKay up there. Can you bring in another younger body to replace maybe a Clay Scanlon who's a UFA? Is there somebody out there that you can get more youth on that side like you did last year for the righties? So my first one is Owen Hiltz.
I was going to look up McKay's shooting percentage. I think it was ridiculously high. I forgot what it was, but I mean, they talk about it all the time in fantasy football, that there's positive regression, and it's probably going to happen for Ian McKay. This is no shot at him whatsoever, but I'm pretty sure his shooting percentage was extremely high. So he'll dial it down probably a little bit. Like you said, there's film on there. So I also have a lot of lefty forwards. I will try to go through some of them. I'm going to leave you the next one and take the other one on your list, which is Nolan Byrne. I love the burn to burn connection. That's just a good time. But he was a finalist for MVP in the OJLL. He is 6'3", 190 with strength and athleticism. I just like the idea, but also, again, I think what they said about him was very similar to what Byrne kind of already is, that he's shifty, but he's also very, very good at passing. And I think those are two players that you could see down the line working off each other extremely well. He has a very similar size to Byrne, so I think they could play off each other very well on that left side, or just another Byrne light for the righties to play with as well.
So I got another lefty forward here, and I'm going to end it with why my eyes drew to him. Isaiah Moran Weeks. He was playing for the Owen Sound and MSL and High Point. Another lefty forward, like I mentioned. 69 points in 2023 with the Mountaineers. In 2024, 22, 33, and 55 in just 19 games. And then the playoffs, he took it to another level, 21 points in 14 games. Does all the little things well. And he's kind of projected to be a back end of first, early second round pick. In 2025, in college, 6-1-7, 2024, 4-2-6, 3-0-3 in 2023, with Owen Sound last year in 18 games, 14, 21, and 35 as a rookie. But the thing that drew my eye to him, and it's something that we said if Kyle Buchanan does retire, I want a lefty version of him. And the player comp 2 weeks here is Kyle Buchanan. Even better. I mean, he was mocked to the Buffalo Bandits in Steven Stamp's mock draft. Even better. Like, that would be... I would be so excited if that was the pick at number 14 without knowing a ton about him, but just the Kyle Buchanan comp and being a lefty and kind of being that next version of maybe going 4 lefties, 3 righties, it fits perfectly.
Yeah, maybe he could be. I mean, we already talked a lot about Scanlon being a very similar Buchanan player. Maybe he's, again, a younger version or just a possible step up in that situation. My other one is wildly different from a Kyle Buchanan type player. It is Coltrane. Awesome name, by the way. Tyson, awesome last name as well. 6'5", 205 pounds. The guy is massive. He is your lane setter. He's athletic, physical, but he's also a danger to score the ball every time he possesses it. He has had some injury issues, so hopefully that's a player that might be able to drop into the second round for the Bandits with one of their 2 second-round picks. But he's one that, again, you want to protect Josh Byrne over there as he's getting a little bit older. Get a guy like this who can also score the ball, but is just a monster and will clear that entire left side open for Cloutier and Byrne and McKay. Love a lane setter, love someone who can clear, but also has the ability to score. So if he can stay healthy, and also if he falls a little bit because he's been injured, absolutely love that idea.
Yeah, if Bucky retires and they go 4 lefties and you replace a Chris Cloutier role and give him back the freedom to score, and then you add this guy to be that lane setter like the Brandon Robinson or the Brad McCulley's used to be, I absolutely love it. Yeah, he was on my list. Next one here, and he kind of came out of irrelevancy last year and used that as momentum this year, is Curtis Ward. Peterborough for the OJLL. Another lefty forward is my last lefty forward I've got. Last year he went undrafted. He was not picked whatsoever. That was after a 52, 55, and 107-point season. All he did was go and play in the ALL, which is the winter version of box lacrosse right underneath the NLL. He finished with 35, 59, and 94-point season in just 14 games as a 21-year-old. Pretty good. 63 points with Peterborough this year. 6'1", good IQ. In 2025, 25, 55, and 80. I mean, I love this type of player. I don't know if he's going to be... I do not expect him to be a first-round draft pick. Can he get into the second, or does he slide to the third? It will be very interesting to track where Curtis Ward goes this season.
Yeah, it's tough for the Bandits, as we already mentioned, with it being so heavy righty forward. Either teams are going to focus on that, or the lefty forwards that the Bandits might be interested in are going to get scooped real quick because the depth is a lot deeper at righty forward. So could get tricky. The last lefty forward, I have Jack Charbonneau, however you say his name. 6'2", 180. I believe he just recently or over the summer declared for the draft. He is a shifty player who can take the defender over the top or underneath, but also has the vision to be a strong setup man as well. He's another player that I think, again, similar to Nolan Byrne, he'd be more of a complement to Josh and Cloutier versus someone like a Coltrane who's just going to be the lane setter who can also score. But it'll be interesting to see if they do go for a lefty forward, what kind of lefty forward they're looking for. Again, Charbonneau and Byrne are both a little bit taller. 2 of the guys that you picked a little bit shorter. So do they want the kind of bigger Josh Byrne type player? Do they want another Kyle Buchanan type player? Do they want a monster lane setter that can kind of take over the situation in that way? So it'll be interesting if they do go lefty forward, which I think they should personally. They have a lot of options as to what kind of variety they want there.
So we understand that there's better or higher ranked prospects, I should say. But Buffalo's picking 14th. Unless they trade up, those higher prospects aren't going to be there. The Ty English isn't going to be there. I'm scrolling up here. The Alex Marinier is not going to be there. Saris is not going to be there. McLeod isn't going to be there. CJ Kirst, heck, isn't going to be there. They're all going to be gone by the time Buffalo picks. And again, unless Buffalo somehow squeezes up to the top three, which isn't happening because Toronto has those top three. We're looking at the players that are going to be at the bottom of the first round, second, third, so on and so forth. So that if you want to read up on those players and you're a fan of the league and a fan of prospects, again, go check out Steven Stamp on the clock. That's the places to go for that. This is simply players that we think Buffalo would be most interested in. And this was coming right from JT's team because he played on Six Nations in the MSL in a very brief time, but JT coaches that one, and a bunch of Buffalo Bandits play on that. Aiden Farron
and Farrell, very simple.
Yeah, Farron. He also played in Bellarmine, OSL. He's grit and he's face-off man. And he plays out the back gate. He played with Haudenosaunee in the Nationals. He played in 5 games with the Six Nation Chiefs and the MSL. 5 games with JT's team. He's 6'2", 205. Yes, he needs a lot more reps. But what we've been saying, bring in some competition at the face-off dot, even if it's just for camp. You have Reese Barnes that we were hot and bothered by last year, and Saskatchewan took him, and he got beat out by Jake Naso. So I would be interested in bringing Farron in to see if he can compete with Connor Farrell for that face-off job, because if he can also play out the back gate, JT's got some experience with him beyond his MSL team. I'm interested in Farron coming on this team, and he could be a later round draft pick.
Yeah, I think face-off is the one spot. I have 3 face-off guys, 2 of them that you have on your list as well. Could be the one area, we've talked about it last year even, this is not an anti-Farrell take by any means. We like Farrell. We like what he brought to the team. They've been a champion with him on the team. This is not anti-him, but we prefer a face-off guy who does more than just face-offs only. So I think it's one area to the starting lineup that a rookie could come in and make an impact, and we saw it a ton last year. Nassau was a guy you just mentioned, had a monster rookie year. Stathakis. We've seen plenty of rookie faceoff guys come in and make a huge impact to their team right away. I think it's one of the few spots on this team that a rookie could make an immediate first-year impact. Right. So I will go with my top faceoff guy, I think. Bo Columbus, also on your list. Headline for him. Very similar. Again, he's not just a Fogo. He's someone who comes out the back door. He's someone who has been continuing to increase his ability in the back end, and just every single aspect of his game has gotten better and better over the years. He brings the size, sharp across IQ, and a solid work ethic. Again, face-off guy, love it. Someone who's constantly improving, love it. And someone who can come out the back door and do more than just face-offs. That is what we like to see.
Yeah, he's my top face-off man as well. My backup face-off man is, I'm going to mess up his last name here. Jeremy Phoenix Lefebvre. Lefebvre? We're going to listen when he gets drafted what his name sounds like, especially when he gets drafted by Buffalo. He's a lefty defenseman, but he's also a face-off man. He's only 5'11", 108. But he can also play D and draw some face-off dot possessions in the NLL. Again, I think he is a name that, and you've seen around the league, we've already said it, you already mentioned it, face-offs are very important to the NLL coaches at this point now. And that wasn't a thing a few years ago, and I think Jake Withers came in and kind of changed the game. If you can get a guy who can stay and play, that is so valuable to your team because you're not just having a Fogo on your 19-man active roster. It's 21, but 19 playing that night. You can make that spot and become more valuable. Again, face-off, we think, has that door open a bit. Now, will they come in and win the job? Who knows? Connor Farrell was very good and played very well last year. He was over 50% in the regular season. Yes, in the playoffs he struggled a bit, but in the end, didn't really matter because face-offs only matter in certain situations. But if you can get a Fogo who can win 50 to 55 and stay and play, that is something that we're interested in. We've been saying that for 5 years. Haven't gotten one yet, but maybe one of these 3 that we just mentioned could come in and steal the job from Farrell.
Yeah, I do have 2 more, but I'm going to get off face-offs to move on to someone a little bit different here. Aiden McDonald, the Bandits love some family dynamics. They already drafted his brother in 2024. Why not add to the family? He's a 6'1", 200 lockdown defender. And this is something that PK loves so much. They said he is a pest that excels at getting under the skin of opponents. Honestly, it is right up the Bandits' alley. They may not technically need a lockdown defender this year, but he is someone that I think they should look into, and I do think they could use. They already have plenty of antagonistic players on their team, but why not add another one?
Yeah, I love him. Everything I read on the clock and Steven Stamp, I'm going to keep pumping them because how valuable their
That's all we got.
Was.
It's very helpful.
I loved everything they wrote about him because he's such a pest and people are going to hate him. Just don't go play hockey like your brother did. Stay and play with Bandits. This might be one of my top defenders that I liked on this one. It's Kyle Pepper. They had him drafted number 13 in Steven Stamp's mock. Playing Victoria, but he also went to St. Bonaventure, so he's got both coasts going for him. He's Steven Stamp's number 24 ranked prospect. 7, 5, and 12 this season. He's a two-way player that can play two-way in the NLL. He's also a face-off man. And he also plays the short game. He's smaller, but he's not afraid of contact. He could be the end of the first, early second, in senior ball, 15, 14, and 29 in 17 games. If he somehow falls to Buffalo with that first pick in the first round, well, their first pick in the first round, number 14th overall, Kyle Pepper should be running that piece of paper up to the commissioner and just saying, this is who I want. Because I think Kyle Pepper, if he can come in, develop his game and be a two-way man that they've lost with Ian McKay going to full-time forward, and also adds that face-off element to me, that's the full package. And to me, on Saturday at 1 p.m., it'll probably be closer to 2 by the time Buffalo picks. If Kyle Pepper's on the board, they better run that ticket up to the board because I would absolutely die if Kyle Pepper's the pick. And I think I know what your last one in here is because he's my last prospect that I want to mention as well. We'll see if we have the same one here.
I have a ton of prospects still, for being completely honest.
Oh, okay.
Like I told you off podcast, I got way too into this. I was just loved reading up on all these players, and I was like, my main goal headed into this was to have the Bandits trade away all their picks because I don't think many of them will be able to make a big impact on their team this year. And then I started reading all these, prospect paragraphs and everything about all these guys, and I was like, all right, I want every single one of them. If we'll just use all of them, that sounds great. So I'll go with, I have 3 transition players. I don't know if you have any I have left.
One guy left, and it's at a position we haven't mentioned yet.
Okay, so I will try to fly through these. So my other face-off guy was Nathan Miller. You loved yourself some Miller when he was on the team back in the day. Nick. This is a different one. He's supposed to be a solid defender, great defensive stick, causes turnovers, grabs loose balls, adds some transitional ability, and also has face-off upside to his game. Again, extremely well-rounded face-off guy. It seems like if the Bandits want to take a shot, there's plenty of potential great not Fogo face-off guys to take a look at this draft, so hopefully they take the shot and bring some competition in for Farrell. My other 3, I will try to blow through them. They are all righty transitions. Logan Mellish. He is gritty, mean, tough, hard-nosed, old-school defender. He won a fight in the Minto Cup in 2023, has transitional flair, and a freak athlete. Love to see it. Casey Wilson was a top 5 talent who protects to be a Swiss Army life. However, he reportedly tore his ACL and will miss the entire 25-26 season. This is what I was talking about earlier, the kind of guy that the Bandits, if he falls, could take a shot at, someone who could have been top 5. Now he got injured, has to wait a year, has to recover from that injury. The Bandits don't need now talent specifically, so that's a kind of guy that they could take the upside on. If he comes back from his injury, he could slot in a year and see what he can do. And then the last one is Hugh Kelleher, something like that. He was called one of, if not the best American player available after C.J. Kirst. He is 6'3", 220, downhill dodger with a strong shot and solid hands, could be seen as a transition player in the NLL. With his size similar to Connor Kirst, not a bad comparison.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't go with a couple of those names is because they're more West Coasters. So that's also a factor I was putting into this is where exactly they play. Yeah. And if they're more West Coast, I steered away from them. Doesn't mean they can't. I mean, Lucas Nielsen was a West Coaster. He moved East Coast, and I believe he got traded to St. Catharines this offseason in the juniors. So it's possible they can draft, and they've been known to draft Western guys. I mean, Chase Frazier, Josh Burns, so on and so forth. So I didn't rule it out. It's tougher for me to know their personal situation. That's more of a team thing of, hey, are you willing to play with Buffalo and travel, or are you willing to move? The only other name, and I'm just tossing it out there because he's the number 1 ranked goalie, and I knew you love goalies. Caleb Kahn, played with Langley, number 27 ranked prospect on Steven Stamp's big board. Still 18 years old. 3 years left of juniors, 2 years playing senior ball already. He's got a sub-10 goals against average, .840 save percentage, best goalie out there, likely a second rounder. But they've invested so much time and effort into Evan C. having him on the practice squad so long. I don't see them taking a goaltender, even if Matt Vince does retire. I think they go and get a veteran piece. So I think Evan C. is their goalie of the future until proven otherwise. So that's why I just mentioned Caleb Kahn, because I think he's going to be a really, really good goalie in this league. He's already shown it at this young age. It's just I do not expect Buffalo to take him.
Yeah, the big thing with him is his 3 years left of junior eligibility. So he's someone they could draft and just be like, all right, we'll see you in 4 years. And I mean, it's possible. And the other thing with him, the other thing with goalies in general, like to me at this point, I mean, again, this is all behind the scenes stuff that we don't see with Orleman and Evan C. is how well they're developing, what the Bandits think of them. But clearly we've seen around the league, you need a premier goalie in order to win it all. So to me, if they have some inkling that this is Vince's last year or he's not coming back, like I'm taking as many shots on as many prospects as I possibly can to hopefully find one of them that hits. I mean, there's plenty of teams in the league, and this is a 14-team league, that still want a solid starting goalie, and they don't have it. So the fact that it's such a big commodity, but one that seems to be very difficult to lock down a true elite goalie, that's the only reason I could see them maybe taking a shot, just to have as many eggs in that basket as possible. And then the last, very, very last thing, we did see that Ari Steinhaus is draft eligible this year. 6'3", 19-year-old transition player with 2 years of junior remaining. And to me, it seems weird if anyone other than Buffalo took him. So we'll see if maybe one of the later picks. I have no idea. He's only 19, so I have no clue where a player like him would go. Also, pretty funny to hear that he is 6'3", considering how tiny Steinhaus was. But that'd be an interesting one just to see if Buffalo, if he falls in the 3rd round or something, if Buffalo takes a shot at.
Yeah, so that wraps up our draft prospect coverage. On the next show,
we tried to go quick.
Well, I think we did pretty good. We're right about an hour.
I think we did. We flew through.
We'll break down who Buffalo did actually pick. Again, their draft, their first round is being streamed on NLL Plus Saturday at 1 p.m. Make sure you're available and watching that one. Definitely support NLL Plus because we want that thing to keep growing and getting better and better and better. And plus, if nobody watches this, they just won't stream drafts anymore, and we will be sad about that one. But yeah, we'll go over each player, the numbers, the stats, and everything to back up their picks on the next show. But yeah, for any other draft info, any other info you want on any of these eligible players, go to Steven Stamp, go to On the Clock Lax, both on X. They do a fantastic job. Once again, thank you to both of them, because without them, we're not breaking down any of these. We're kind of just going blind, and they were a fantastic resource that we took advantage of. So thank you for the coverage, and keep doing it, because nobody else is going to do it otherwise, and absolutely loved it. But that will wrap up this show. Again, go listen to our bold predictions on the Buffalo Bills, even though we ended the last one on a negative note, but we stand by. On the next show, we'll break down the Bills versus Ravens Sunday night game, and we'll go over the NLL draft picks, both for the Buffalo Bandits and around the league, and the implications of it. And maybe the countdown begins of when will the CBA be signed? Will we move into in-season mode in December, or will the CBA get signed first? Which happens first? Find out only on the BSC and I guess other resources as well. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You can check out our store on our link tree on our social media sites or at the shop tab at the top of the website. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. You can check out my Warriors hat. Follow us or leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.